about that whole situation. And it's a tricky thing for me to answer because I felt so many things in the last years. There's times I felt scared. There's times I felt humiliated. There's times I felt embarrassed. And ultimately, I just felt terrible.
Okay. Get my mic out. Where you caught that pullover from? I think Dillard's, but I don't know how big Dillard's is outside of Kansas. I mean, it could be all over America for all I know. Yeah, Matt, I'm assuming you're talking about the Nerlens Noel situation. So right before I went live, like literally a minute before, we got word. Hey, thank you for subscribing. If you guys are in here, make sure to drop a like. The first thing you guys should be doing, as well as subscribing if you haven't done so already. I'm here every single day. But yeah, right before I went live, we got news that Mitchell Robinson is indeed out tonight. Nerlens Noel is active. The scary thing is Nerlens Noel just played like 30 minutes. I'm assuming he gets to start here. Taj Gibson definitely is going to get into the thick of things. He's definitely going to get some minutes tonight. But man, it really makes the situation kind of difficult. If Noel is starting, he's going to be an A tier play for me. Probably prefer him to JaVale McGee just because of the minutes upside. I think that the Suns want to play Frank Kaminsky more than JaVale McGee in that 28-minute range, 28-minute range. I think Noel has upside of playing like 30 minutes, but again, he is kind of dealing with an injury. He's just recently coming back. He's only played 3 games this year so far, and this is the second leg of a back-to-back where he just played 30 minutes. So the minutes between him and Taj Gibson could be split pretty evenly. It could actually be in the favor of Taj Gibson. So if Noel is going to be chalky tonight, I mean, pivoting off to Taj Gibson could be pretty sharp given the fact that Taj Gibson is the bare minimum. And he also has forward eligibility. Again, this game starts first, the only game that starts at 6 p.m. Central Time. So we're going to get news on who's starting pretty soon. And then we can kind of just adjust accordingly to that. But I haven't made an update on Patreon just yet, just because I'm waiting for that news. But yeah, what's going on, Eric, Tone, Spurs, Kyle? What's going on, guys? How big of a bump to Randall? I mean, I guess there is like an off chance that Julius Randle gets to start at the 5. He is pretty undersized compared to Andre Drummond, so I don't think that happens. Taj Gibson actually smaller than Julius Randle, so I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. I think more times than not, Nerlens Noel is going to grab the start here, but I'd just be very cautious on his minutes. But again, I do prefer him to JaVale McGee if he is starting, especially since, most of us are going to be playing Frank Kaminsky already. And then our center position is already filled up with Andre Drummond, or at least it should be. Just really don't see Drummond busting unless he gets into foul trouble, or I mean, even if the game blows out, he's too cheap. He's gonna have to get injured or something to really bust, to be honest. Called Rubio, miss a show and lose. Yeah, I mean, I've been on Rubio pretty much ever since these injuries have happened. Brunson, Milton, or Maxey Seth. Probably the Maxey side. What's good, bro? Let's get it. Man, I'm ready. How many Sixers is too many? So we should get Danny Green. Okay, we'll go game by game. This is the first game of the slate, but the Sixers are still good, but they're not as good as they were the last couple slates. I think you just go ahead and play Drummond, but I think Maxey, Milton are still good plays. But the guys like Korkmaz, Niang, I'm Seth Curry. I'm not on as much as I was the couple slates before because they are getting healthier with Danny Green back. But let's just jump right into this slate, guys. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Anson. Like, Noel isn't healthy. Like, he was a game time decision today. He just now got ruled in. So we're gonna go game by game real quick because we did get quite a bit of news throughout the day. Once we get the starting lineup for the Knicks, I will start to go over that. But we'll start with game number 1. Again, guys, there is only one game that starts at 6 p.m. Central Time. Then the rest of the games start an hour or more later. Normally, I would say just fade the first game so you can wait for more news. But there are so many good plays in this first game, so you kind of want to have some pieces of it. The New York Knicks versus the Philadelphia 76ers are currently a 213.5 over under. The Knicks flipped to 2.5 point favorites once we got word that Joel Embiid was going to be ruled out. The Knicks are going to be without Mitchell Robinson. Nerlens Noel is officially active. I did just kind of go over it. We'll wait till the starting lineup. It is the second leg of a back-to-back. Nerlens Noel, he's just now coming back from injury. This would be his 4th game, and he just played 30 minutes last night. So him or Taj Gibson's going to get the start. I would assume Noel does, but I would be pretty scared about his minutes if he's coming off the bench. And Taj Gibson is the bare minimum. So if Taj Gibson is starting, I think he's probably the best 3K player on the slate. I prefer him to Bones Highland, to PJ Dozier, who's probably going to get the start for the Nuggets tonight. So yeah, I mean, if Taj Gibson is starting, I do like him quite a bit. Really the only guy that I like from the Knicks. I didn't put him on the sheet, but I will mention that Kemba Walker at $5,500, he rested the first end of the back-to-back. So they might go ahead and play Kemba Walker that 28-30 minutes that he had been playing before, especially since Derrick Rose just played 28 minutes last night. And so if we get Kemba Walker playing around 30 minutes against this Philadelphia defense, who is just absent of any good defenders right now, he could absolutely go off at this price tag. And I'm not really on Randall or RJ Barrett. Move over to the Philadelphia 76ers. So they are going to be without Joel Embiid, Matisse Thybulle, Isaiah Joe, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Grant Riller. Danny Green is expected to play in this game. So that is going to cut into the minutes of, Shake Milton, Korkmaz, Niang to an extent. But I do think that they are still very thin. They're probably going to run an 8 or 9 man rotation yet again. And this is a bigger bump down to Paul Reed, but Andre Drummond, with him starting at center tonight, Paul Reed, he could get run at the 4. He started last game at the 4, but now with no Joel Embiid, he'll also get burned as the backup 5. So I think Paul Reed is a pretty interesting tournament option at $3,300. Very volatile play, but B-Ball Paul is a pretty good per minute producer, and if this game ends up blowing out, Vegas isn't indicating it will, but if it did on the off chance, he would get a lot of burn in the 4th quarter and he'd be the main guy out there. But again, Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton, I think are very good cash games. And then you just go ahead and play Andre Drummond. If Andre Drummond busts, something seriously wrong had happened. Just entirely too cheap on both sides. So yeah, I'm fine. I'm definitely playing Drummond, and I'm fine with playing Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton, and then Paul Reed in tournaments. I guess is fine. Move over to the Brooklyn Nets versus the Chicago Bulls at 216.5 over under. The Bulls are 1.5 point favorites. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be without Kyrie Irving and Nicholas Claxton. James Johnson, I believe, is also out in this game. Doesn't really affect all that much. This is the second leg of a back-to-back. I don't mind Kevin Durant right now or James Harden. More of secondary spend-up options for me personally as of right now, and then I'm not considering anybody else on that Nets team. It's really just hard to figure out what they're doing on a night-to-night basis with the minutes because they try out so many different rotations in the front court and really just the rest of the lineup outside of the 2 stars. Then on the Bulls side, they're going to be without Kobe White and Patrick Williams. Lonzo Ball's price has dropped significantly on both sides. $6,800 over on Draftkings, $5,900 over on FanDuel. I think he's a much better play over on FanDuel. I think these Chicago guys, I think they're fine. It is a good matchup, pace-up spot against a poor Brooklyn Nets defense. I'm just really not considering anybody here. There's other players in this price range that I'm considering definitely over them. I will say Alex Caruso at 4,200 is one of the better value plays on the slate. Should play 30 plus minutes. Should be used a lot defensively today. Should be in the closing lineup. Don't mind him at $4,200, but I'm largely avoiding that game between the Nets and the Bulls. Get the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Memphis Grizzlies at 216.5. Over under. The Grizzlies are currently 6-point favorites. D'Angelo Russell is still questionable, so if he is ruled out, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, Malik Beasley, and Patrick Beverley get pretty big boost, especially from a usage standpoint from Edwards and Towns, and then a minutes uptick from guys like Patrick Beverley and Malik Beasley. Beverley kind of busted last game, mainly because he got into some serious foul trouble. In this matchup against the Grizzlies, I think he's a lot better off. $4,300, wouldn't mind him if Russell is ruled out, but it looks like Russell is likely going to play in this game. And if that's the case, I'm not really considering anybody on this team. On the Memphis Grizzlies side, they are going to be without Dillon Brooks yet again. Don't mind John Moran up top, but I think Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, and Steven Adams are entirely too cheap, especially this matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I like these guys quite a bit, especially Desmond Bane at $4,700. His minutes got scaled back last game because the game blew out, and so many of these Memphis Grizzlies games end up blowing out one way or another. Vegas indicates that this is going to be a competitive game, only a 6-point spread. And so as long as this game is competitive, Desmond Bane should play 31 minutes in this game. Has been a very good per minute producer, shoots a lot. He's very active on the court, and he's only $4,700 at a somewhat weak small forward position today. So I do like Desmond Bane. Steven Adams, should nearly not exactly match the minutes of Karl Anthony Towns, but he should still play 30 plus minutes. $4,500 for Steven Adams. It's a good offensive matchup, although he doesn't shoot all that much, but he should be out there for 30 plus minutes. Has been over a fantasy point per minute player so far this year, so I like him quite a bit at $4,500, one of the better value plays on the slate. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. at $5,800. I think he's just still too cheap over there on DraftKings. Move on to the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Dallas Mavericks at 213 over under. The Mavericks are currently 8.5-point favorites. The Pelicans are going to be without Zion Williamson. Brandon Ingram and Herbert Jones are both questionable. I'm expecting Brandon Ingram to return here. If he was to be ruled out, I think Jonas Valanciunas and Devontae Graham would would get a pretty severe uptick in projection if he was ruled out. But I'm expecting him to play, and with him expecting to play, I'm not really considering anybody on that Pelicans team. Then on the Dallas Mavericks side, they are going to be without Maxi Kleber. Kristaps Porzingis ended up returning last game, played 28 minutes. We were told that he was going to play upwards of 30 minutes. I think in this game, he probably plays around 32 minutes. It's an amazing matchup against the New Orleans Pelicans. Good price for him at $6,700. But the guy I like the most is Luka Doncic at $10,700. I mean, this matchup really couldn't get any better against the Pelicans. The spread is pretty wide right now at 8.5 points. And actually didn't move. It's still sitting at 8.5 with money coming in on the under. So it went from 9 to 8.5. So as long as this game is competitive, I think Luka Doncic, one of the best, if not the best, spend up option on the slate. There's two other guys that I'm really keen on playing today, but I do like Luka quite a bit tonight. And then Jalen Brunson. The interesting thing was even with Kristaps Porzingis being out last game, or coming back last game and playing 28 minutes, Jalen Brunson's minutes continues to stay the same. He played 35 minutes. Now, obviously, he takes a pretty big hit in terms of usage with Kristaps Porzingis back, but if he's going to continue to play mid-30s minutes, he's definitely in play, especially in this matchup against the Pelicans. Move on to the Miami Heat versus the Denver Nuggets, a low 204.5 over under. The Heat are currently 1.5-point favorites. The Heat are going to be without Victor Oladipo and Max Strus. Kyle Lowry has taken on a much larger ball handling role as of recent. So, that takes away from guys like Butler, Adebayo, and Tyler Hero, where it pretty much takes everybody out of play outside of Kyle Lowry over on FanDuel, where he's just over $6,000. I think that's really the only play that I play from Miami on either site. On DraftKings, really not considering anybody over here on Miami. On the Denver side, it's a whole nother story. They're going to be without Michael Porter Jr., obviously without Jamal Murray until at least the All-Star break, I would assume. PJ Dozier was the first man in when Michael Porter Jr. got hurt last game, started the second half of that game. I'm expecting him to get the start here. very bad matchup for the Denver Nuggets. I think PJ Dozier is like more of a secondary value play. I think there's a lot of good value plays in that 4K range that you don't really need to mess around with these low 3K guys like Bones Highland and PJ Dozier. More of tournament options for me. Honestly, if you're playing one lineup, I'm probably not playing these secondary guys. I'm really focusing on Nikola Jokic and Will Barton from these guys. You know, Jokic since the beginning of last year with no Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray on the court in 465 minutes at 36.3% usage rating, 20.1 total rebound percentage, 37.8 total assist percentage, while averaging 1.8 fantasy points per minute. Obviously a tough matchup against Miami, but man, when the Nuggets are down bad and they don't have very many good players, the offense will just entirely run through Nikola Jokic. The entire game is just going to go through Nikola Jokic, and hopefully this game can stay competitive. As of right now, it's only a 1.5 point spread with the Nuggets being at home. So Vegas indicates this game will stay competitive. And if it is competitive, it's because Nikola Jokic is absolutely going off. If Andre Drummond wasn't on the slate, I would be locking him in over on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he is my favorite spend-up option. You could definitely play him with Drummond and play two centers. I think that's probably one of the best routes to go tonight. And then Will Barton at 5,500. I had mentioned it in my videos before this year. He's taking on a much larger ball handling role, and now without Michael Porter Jr., you know, they're missing ball handling and guys that can create their own shot outside of Jokic and Will Barton. So these guys are going to have a lot of opportunities today. Obviously, it is a very tough matchup against the Miami Heat defense, but you know, they're at home. This game should be competitive, and the production should be going the way of Jokic and Will Barton tonight. Move on to the Atlanta Hawks versus the Golden State Warriors at 225.5 over under. The Warriors are currently 3.5 point favorites. The Hawks are going to be without Onyeka Okongwu. Without him, I mean, they're pretty much at full strength right now. You know, the Warriors like to play small ball lineup, so Clint Capella should have a pretty good time at rebounding. My only fear with Capella is that there is an off chance that they just get behind against the Golden State Warriors, who the Warriors have blown out 4 straight teams, and they are at home yet again. So if the Hawks get behind, they will play John Collins at the 5 to try to play catch up and put more 3-point shooters out there. I think this game is going to be competitive enough where they will just run Capella out there, because the Warriors are going to play small in the fourth quarter, and the Hawks are fine with playing Capella at the 5 even against small ball lineups. So I do like Capella, more of a tournament option for me today, just given how stacked the center position is. And then with the rest of the team being at full strength, I'm not really considering anybody else amongst the wings and guards on the Hawks. And then on the Warriors side, they are going to be without Klay Thompson, James Wiseman, Andre Iguodala should be back, but Otto Porter is out due to injury management. So, you know, without Otto Porter being there, you know, I think it's just even more likelihood that Jordan Poole could get into the closing lineup. He is second on this team with a 27% usage rating. I expect that to stick. You know, we saw in the preseason how well he was playing because he was shooting well. And to begin the season, you know, the usage was there, but he wasn't shooting well, and so they weren't closing with him. But he has been shooting well as of recent, and if that's going to continue, we're getting a pretty big discount on him at $5,800. And assuming this game does stay competitive, he could play 33, 34 minutes in this game in a good matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. I like Jordan Poole quite a bit tonight. And then we move on to the Phoenix Suns versus the Sacramento Kings at 226.5 over under. The Suns are currently 2.5 point favorites. The Suns are going to be without DeAndre Ayton and Dario Saric. Frank Kaminsky in each of the last 2 games that DeAndre Ayton has missed has played 28 and 29 minutes off the bench. JaVale McGee has been the starter in those games. You know, he was dealing with a situation last game where he went to the locker room for a little bit, so he lost some minutes due to that. Also dealing with some foul trouble. I think more times than not, Kaminsky probably plays around 26 minutes to JaVale's 22 minutes. But both of them are great plays. I think you can play both of them together. But depending on if Nerlens Noel is starting, I might prefer Noel to McGee if Noel is starting. If he's not, then I prefer McGee. And then up top with Chris Paul at $8,700, I just keep going back to the well with him. I mean, he should be able to pick apart this defense pretty easily tonight. I think Devin Booker, especially if Tyrese, so we'll get to the King side, but Tyrese Halliburton popped up with a back injury on the second leg of a back-to-back. I think there is a pretty good chance that he ends up sitting because that was like a midday addition to the injury report. And if that's the case, we're probably going to see a lot more Davion Mitchell. Mitchell is probably going to be used on Devin Booker. So we could see more ball handling responsibilities from Chris Paul, even though he has the ball in his hands pretty much every time they take it up the court. Then on the Sacramento Kings side, they have no injuries. Obviously, Marvin Bagley is not in the rotation. And then, like I just mentioned, they do have an injury. Tyrese Halliburton ended up popping up on the injury report a couple hours ago with a back injury. So if he were to be ruled out, Buddy Hield would become a very, very good play at $6,000. These Kings guys play big minutes anyways. And then if they're going to miss one of these key players, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Holmes, Barnes, Fox, Davion Mitchell are all going to see an increase of minutes, outside. I mean, Holmes' minutes aren't affected, but Fox, Barnes, Hield, Mitchell are going to see an increase in minutes. And then Terrence Davis probably gets into the rotation, I would assume, at $3,100. He would be a pretty sneaky tournament option if Halliburton is in fact ruled out. But again, he's probably not going to play that many minutes, but given his price, he could definitely pay that off. And then we will move on to the last game of the slate. The Charlotte Hornets versus the Los Angeles Lakers at 226.5 over under. The Lakers are currently 2-point favorites. The Hornets are going to be without PJ Washington today. So Mason Plumlee's minutes are relatively secure today. I don't think they go small against the Lakers. So Plumlee should play, 28, 30 minutes in this game, a pretty solid per minute producer. He comes at a very, very stacked center position. The Lakers, they have been awful defensively. This game is going to fly. This is my favorite game to stack tonight, and it's a late night hammer. Charlotte, very, very fast. And the Lakers and the Hornets are both terrible on defense. I mean, they're not the defense that they were last year. Obviously, they're not at full strength right now, so you can really take advantage of the Lakers right now. This game should be competitive. Lakers only 2-point favorites. So LaMelo Ball up top, one of my favorite tournament options on the slate. Terry Rozier, very good in cash games. You can play him in tournaments as well. Going to be playing pretty big minutes, 32, 34 plus minutes in this game. They'll use him a lot defensively against Russell Westbrook like they did the other night against Steph Curry. I like him a good bit at $6,400 over here. Where I really like him is over on FanDuel, where he's like $5,300. Let me check. It's like an abysmal price. Like, yeah, $5,300. Don't know how you avoid that, and you have plenty of Lakers options to bring it back with. And then I don't mind actually Miles Bridges. I'm really coming around on him. He's $7,700 now, so his price tag is dipping down. Don't mind him. Then on the Los Angeles Lakers side, Anthony Davis was moved from questionable to probable. He was questionable last game with a thumb injury that he sustained the game before. He ended up playing through it that game. And then this last game, he was questionable with a thumb injury, like a game time decision. And then he played 7 minutes, and then he ended up leaving the game due to a stomach illness. So it wasn't even his thumb, so he should be fine today unless he's still sick. But he was on the injury report with a finger injury, so it's not the illness. So I'm sure he's a full go. Also, we already got word that he is probable to play. The Lakers are going to be without LeBron James, Trevor Ariza, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Horton Tucker. So obviously they are thin yet again, but this is a massive, massive pace-up spot against a piss-poor Charlotte Hornets defense. So Anthony Davis, probably my favorite point per dollar spin-up option on the slate. Russell Westbrook shortly behind him. There's 4 really good spin-up options. It's hard for me to rank them with Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Luka Doncic, and Nikola Jokic. I think there is enough value to be playing at least 2 of these guys tonight. You can't really get to 3 of them unless you're going to be taking some really volatile minimum price guys if you're trying to play 3. But I think you pick 2 of them. If you're playing over here on Draftkings, you probably pick one of them. I do prefer Anthony Davis to Russell Westbrook. On FanDuel, it's a bit of a different story given Westbrook's price, where he's only $9,300. So it's really easy to play both of them, especially given their positions. But yeah, I love both these guys. Not really considering anybody else on the Lakers side. But we're still waiting on news from the New York Knicks on that starting lineup. I'm also really interested to see the starting lineup from the 76ers. It definitely could change my perception on this game. But again, guys, just remember there is only one game starting at 6 p.m. Central Time. Then you have a full hour until the next games start to begin. But we got 35 minutes to lock. That was pretty quick. We'll kind of wait around for this news. I'll try to bullshit, and we'll try to get through some questions, help you guys build some lineups. I did want to mention that on Prize Picks, I just posted one on Patreon if you guys wanted to go check that out. I think it's still there. But if we want to go through some of them, I like the over on Nikola Vucevic, 37.5 fantasy points right here. Assuming this game stays close, John Morant, I like it, the over on 41.5. But man, it really pays to be early to my videos because we got Desmond Bane and Steven Adams at like 3 and 4 points less than they are right now. Pretty much after I posted that video, they went ahead and raised the projections on these guys pretty quickly. And then Clint Capella is sitting at 32.5. Now we got him at 31. Excuse me. Earlier on in the day. So I'm feeling really good about those selections now. Rashawn Holmes, actually, we got him at 31.5. He's moved up to 32. So yeah, these numbers are definitely moving right now over on Prize Picks. And again, guys, if you guys want to tail me over on Prize Picks, you guys can sign up and deposit using code Taylor, TAYLOR, for a 100% match bonus up to $100. But man, we really don't have much blowout risks today. I guess the widest spread is the Mavericks game, 8.5 point favorites, but money's coming in on the Pelicans. So despite only 36% of the bets coming in on the Pelicans, they've moved from 9-point dogs to 8.5 point dogs. So sharp money, the big money, is coming in on the Pelicans to keep this game competitive. I think that has a lot to do with Brandon Ingram is likely to play in this game. And with that being likely, if this game is competitive, I think Luka Doncic is a very, very strong play today. But there's really 4 studs that stand out to me tonight. And just to reiterate, it's the 2 Lakers guys, AD and Westbrook, along with Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic. I think you should probably be playing 2 of those 4 guys. But yeah. If you guys enjoy these streams, I'm here every single day, an hour before lock, breaking everything down, answering some questions, as well as my morning video that I post every day. If you guys could subscribe, like this video, would really, really appreciate it. All right, we will get to some questions right now. Try to help you guys build some lineups. So if you have any questions at all, like 1v1s, 2v2s, just like any questions in general, you can ask me whatever you want. I'm an open book. We can get to those right now. Noel and Brunson or Drummond and Paul Reed, FanDuel. It's going to be the Drummond side. I mean, you just like can't fade Drummond at this point. Who is a chalk value besides Drummond and Kaminsky on FanDuel? I'm assuming Will Barton is going to be relatively chalky as well as Terry Rozier. Gary Payton worth a look, Taylor? No. If that game doesn't blow out, I don't expect him to get very many minutes because Otto Porter is out this game, but Andre Iguodala is going to be back. Last game, Andre Iguodala was out and Otto Porter was in. So I don't really expect Payton's minutes to budge all that much, and he's not getting enough at this price point. 20 minutes isn't enough for him. I mean, he's been very, very active, obviously, but not really somewhere that I think is worth chasing. I think you could get a lot more minutes out of that price tag from guys like PJ Dozier and possibly Taj Gibson if he's grabbing the start tonight. Harrison Barnes or Buddy? Definitely Harrison Barnes. 80s tummy feeling okay tonight. Stay away from the Chipotle on game night. Bro, it's brutal. I mean, we nailed literally everything on that slate. And it just came down to my favorite plays of the day, which was Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. And, AD has a tummy ache. Goes out of the game, 7 minutes in. Brutal stuff. Taylor takes no days off. No days off. No. Dozier a cheap option. Yeah, Dozier definitely in play. I'm expecting him to grab the start here. But Bones Highland will get into the rotation. I should have brought that up, actually, because even though PJ Dozier started the second half in replacement of Michael Porter Jr., Bones Highland got a good bit of minutes as well. Thoughts on starting Noel in your lineup if he is starting? Yeah, if Nerlens Noel is in the starting lineup, then I like him quite a bit. Then. Harrison Barnes a fine GPP play? Yeah, I mean, Harrison Barnes is a really good cash game play, so I think he's definitely viable. Russ, CP3, Rozier, Bane, Dozier, Edwards, Anthony Davis, Kaminsky, Drummond on FanDuel. I like it. I have no problems with any of those guys. And I really like Anthony Edwards if D'Angelo Russell is ruled out. Which 76ers in cash? I mean, definitely Drummond. And then the other two guys that I would consider for cash are Tyrese Maxey and Shake Milton. You know, with Danny Green being back, Shake Milton's minutes are probably going to get cut down a little bit. Same with Maxey's, just because they have more players to just fill the minutes. But there's no Joel Embiid. And while Andre Drummond is active out there, he's not as active as Joel Embiid, obviously, when it comes from a usage standpoint. So, you know, while they're going to have less minutes, their production should go up on a per minute basis. So I still like Milton and Maxey in cash games. And then obviously you just go ahead and play Andre Drummond. I appreciate that, Alice. Big shout out to you for doing that. Danny Green officially available to play. Maxey, Brunson, or Poole for GPP. For GPP, definitely Jordan Poole for me. Luka over Westbrook in a lineup with AD. Yes. If you're playing on Draftkings, and that's probably the move. You going to keep Barton on FanDuel? Yeah, why not? Did I miss something on Will Barton while I was talking? Because unless I missed something on Will Barton, I like him a ton tonight. Mavericks or Pelicans tonight? Definitely Mavericks. How many Sixers is too many? I have 4 right now. I don't think 4 is really necessary unless you're playing like Milton, Maxey, Drummond, and then taking a punt on Paul Reed. I suppose at that point it's not the worst, just given their prices. But they're no longer like 3 and 4K like we were getting them earlier. They've been priced up a little bit, you know, outside of Paul Reed. Thoughts on Cam Reddish, DK? Not really interested in the Hawks guys when they're at full strength. Outside of Capella. Kaminsky or Steven Adams. I'm going to take... well, if you have the flexibility, it's probably Steven Adams. But... okay, so the starting lineup of the Sixers is Maxey, Curry, Danny Green, Korkmaz, and Drummond. So... that's pretty much along the lines of what I thought was going to be the starting lineup. With Paul Reed not starting, I think that they're almost exclusively going to run him as the backup 5. He should get some backup 4 run. But I think this is probably less likely for Charles Bassey to get into the rotation, as long as the game is competitive. So, you know, that starting lineup doesn't change my opinion on a whole lot tonight. Shout out Alice. Yeah, Alice. Keep it up. Who's Drummond backup? It's going to be Paul Reed now. That Paul Reed is no longer in the starting lineup. What if Drummond gets in foul trouble or gets hurt? I mean, NBA DFS. I mean, could definitely happen. Knicks or Sixers tonight? Definitely the Knicks. 3,400 utility, DK best play. Probably PJ Dozier for me. Milton not starting. Yep. I wasn't expecting him to start. I know you don't like Brooklyn, Chicago, but what about DeRozan on DK? Yeah, so it's not like I don't like him that much. It's obviously a very good matchup for the Chicago Bulls. A pace-up spot against a horrible Brooklyn Nets defense. D'Angelo Russell is officially in, so, you know, I'm not really considering anybody on the Minnesota side now. Not that I really was anyways. But, yeah, I think DeRozan, Vucevic, Levine, Lonzo, I think they're all priced appropriately. So, if you have leans on those guys, I think it's fine. DeRozan is probably my favorite of those guys. So, at $8,200. So, I don't mind him if you like him. Mitchell or Caruso. Yeah, so it's tough. I would probably roll the dice with Davion Mitchell because I think there is a pretty good chance that Tyrese Halliburton ends up sitting. And Mitchell has already been playing big minutes, so I think we could see Mitchell exceed 30 minutes. Noel is starting. Okay, let me add that to the Patreon then. So, yeah, I think Nerlens Noel is a very good play today. We know Thibodeau likes to run his starters deep, even with Taj Gibson out. Or Taj Gibson likely getting into the rotation. Without Mitchell Robinson, I'm expecting Nerlens Noel to play 28, 30 minutes. I know it is the second leg of a back-to-back, and he just played 30 minutes, but if they were really going to scale back his minutes, I think that they would have brought him off the bench. So definitely on Nerlens Noel. making an update real quick to the Patreon. If you guys want to know exactly what I'm playing on FanDuel, DraftKings, and PrizePicks.com, make sure to check out my Patreon. That is linked down below. Okay. Patreon update is up. So the Knicks will start Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Nerlens Noel. LaMelo and Jokic or KD and AD. Gonna be KD and AD for me. Favorite 3 point guards on DK. I really like Terry Rozier. Actually, let me bring up my cheat sheet so I can get to this a bit easier. Yeah, it's probably Rozier, Maxey, Jordan Poole, those cheaper guys. Sorry, Russell Westbrook would be my top guy. Okay. Poole, Seth Curry, or Brunson. Let's go with Jordan Poole there. CP3 and Dozier or Davion and Bridges. I'll go with the Bridges Davion side. Who are the 2 of the 4 studs you should play for DK Cash? So I think you should be playing 2 of the 4 of AD, Westbrook, Nikola Jokic, and Luka Doncic. On DraftKings, you could play both AD and Westbrook, but if you really want to optimize your upside on DraftKings, I would only play one of the Lakers guys. I do prefer Anthony Davis slightly to Westbrook. On FanDuel, it's a whole different story considering the fact that Westbrook is only $9,300 and it's just hard to avoid him at that point. And so you can definitely get away with playing both of them. Are we off Reed and Cash since not starting? Yes. No Paul Reed for me today, personally. Taj still in play or any better 3K option? A bare minimum guy, Taj Gibson is probably the top player right there. Best plays from the late game tonight. Westbrook, AD, LaMelo, and Terry Rozier. Noel starting. Yep, Danny Green and Noel are the best under 4K plays in my opinion. Yeah, I think Danny Green will get thrown right back into the fire and playing 30 plus minutes. So pretty decent option, honestly. Any interest in Milton off the bench? Yeah, I still think Milton is a good play off the bench. He's still they're still gonna run a very, very shorthanded 8 or 9 man rotation tonight. So just because these guys aren't starting does not mean that they're bad plays. No love for the unicorn Kristaps. I think Kristaps is a fine play. Personally, we were told that he was going to play 30 minutes last time, played 28, or play upwards of 30 minutes rather. I think in this game, as long as it's competitive, he should play around 30 minutes. I'm expecting Ingram to play, so I think this game does stay close down to the wire. So Kristaps probably plays 30, 32 minutes, and he's definitely too cheap on DraftKings at $6,700 if he does play that many minutes, but that's pure speculation on my part. We haven't heard that he's going to exceed 30 minutes, but just last game in 28 minutes, he paid off that price tag. Frank over Noel now. I've always liked Frank over Noel. Okay. Beasley viable. No, D'Angelo Russell is available to play today, so I am not on Malik Beasley or Patrick Beverly. Those guys needed D'Angelo Russell to be ruled out to be viable. Caruso or Korkmaz? Yeah, that's kind of tough. I probably prefer Korkmaz because I know Korkmaz is going to be a lot more active on the court than Caruso. Obviously, different price points, though. Thoughts on Iggy? I'm not on Iggy tonight. Kemba or Brunson? Brunson definitely much safer. If you want a tournament play, Kemba Walker a much better play. I think with him being rested on the first end of the back-to-back, I think we already know that Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose are going to split all 48 of those point guard minutes. with him sitting the first leg of that back-to-back and Derrick Rose playing 28 minutes, I think there is a pretty good likelihood that Kemba Walker ends up playing, 28, 30 minutes. If we know ahead of time that Kemba Walker's playing 28, 30 minutes at this price point against this Philadelphia 76ers team with no Tybal, like no defensive players whatsoever, Kemba could destroy this Philadelphia 76ers backcourt. So, one of my favorite tournament plays yesterday was Ricky Rubio. Today, one of my favorite tournament plays is probably Kemba Walker. Dude, Alyssa, you going crazy. Shout out to you. Bink Night, let's get it. Yo, if you guys are in here and haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I am here every single day. I know only like 50% of you guys are subscribed. I could definitely see those analytics. So, yeah, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Drop a like. Let's run up the likes. Over 300 people in here. Let's get over at least 100 likes. Reed's still playable in cash now. Sorry, not really on him. Best game stack of the night is probably the last game with the Charlotte Hornets and the Los Angeles Lakers. Second to that is probably the Knicks versus the Sixers game. So the first and last game I think are the most favorable game stacks of the night. Noel or McGee. I definitely prefer Nerlens Noel to JaVale McGee now. I have 55% Maxey, 71% Chris Paul, and 100% Drummond rolling the dice tonight. This will either explode or implode. I like all those guys quite a bit tonight, so definitely in on that. No Nets players will have a hard minutes limit Monday and second leg of a back-to-back. That is just like a weird statement from Steve Nash. A hard minutes limit. So that just makes it seem like they're going to scale back just slightly. So, Harden and Kevin Durant were already like secondary pay-up options. Now I'm probably not considering them at all if they're going to scale back the minutes a little bit because they played big minutes last game. Like James Harden ended up playing, almost 40 minutes last game. And Durant ended up playing 37. So I think they play more of like the 35-minute range rather than the 40-minute range. So that's enough to really just take me off of those guys. Danny P, thank you so much for the sub. Let's see your ideal DK lineup, my dude. Yeah, in my Patreon, I gave away a pretty big core tonight, like we did yesterday. Westbrook or Luka, DK, GPP. I prefer Westbrook, but if you already have Anthony Davis, I would go ahead and play Luka. Walker or Poole, definitely Poole for me. DK, GPP, Luka, Barton, Bane, Frank, Drummond, Corkman's AD, Noel, love it. One stud, who is it? Anthony Davis. Any other Laker worth using outside of AD or Westy? Not for me personally. Carmelo Anthony is pretty scoring dependent. That would be the only other guy that I would consider from the Lakers, but he's really not even consideration for me, to be honest. Is Crowder worth a look? There is a chance that this game goes small and the Suns play smaller, but that would be the only reason I would get onto Jay Crowder. But I'm not on Crowder tonight personally. But if he's like your last guy in, I think he's fine. I don't think he necessarily kills you. Shake, Caruso, Danny Green, Kaminsky, Drummond, Kemba, AD, Jokic, DK, GPP. I like it. Booker or Paul? I like Paul. I'm always on team Chris Paul over Devin Booker this year. Can you play Reed and Drummond same lineup? Yeah, I think that's fine. It's because they're so cheap that it's definitely fine to do. The other night we were able to play JaVale McGee and Fred Kaminsky because they're so cheap. Now the prices have raised a little bit, but definitely fine to play Reed and Drummond together. Paul, Barton, Booker, Bridges, Kristaps, Kelly Oubre, Noel, LaMelo Ball in LA. I like that. I'm not really on Kelly that much, but I like the rest of the lineup a lot. Thoughts on Fox? Yeah, he's just shooting so poorly to begin the year. It's kind of like the Damian Lillard situation, except even worse. I think eventually it starts to come back. If Halliburton is out and is replaced by Davion Mitchell, I think that he should have more assist opportunities, which he really hasn't had all that much of recently. So I like Fox. I think that he's too cheap. His ownership is going to be very low because people continue to get burned by him, myself included. But especially over on FanDuel, where he's almost down to like $7K, man. He's $7,400. I definitely prefer him over here on FanDuel. DraftKings, he's like $8,300. I still think he's viable, but Yeah, 83. I prefer him a lot more over on FanDuel than DraftKings.
It's the smell of a new car.
Is that a Starry Night sweatshirt?
It's a
Let's just say it is.
side of the road.
I don't know what it is, to be honest. 80 over Luka, DK. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, if I have the money straight up, I probably go Luka. I mean, both AD and Luka.
Okay.
So AD, Luka, and Westbrook have like insane matchups. But I'm more confident that the Lakers game stays competitive than the Mavericks game. So that's why I slightly prefer AD, like in a cash sense. From tournament, I'd probably go with Luka. Although Luka's going to be higher owned, so take that for what it is. Milton or Maxey a better play on FanDuel? Definitely Maxey. Small forward on FanDuel. Yeah, I think you just go ahead and play Will Barton. I think Harrison Barnes is a good player over there as well. LaMelo or Ja straight up? Definitely Ja. I got Paul, Kaminsky, and Booker in the same lineup. Should I change? And actually, I changed that. It's not Ja. It's LaMelo. You got Paul, Kaminsky, and Booker in the same lineup. Should I change it? Yeah, I don't play Booker and Chris Paul ever together. Best, safest, spin up DK cash. The safest one, outside of like the injury history that AD has had throughout his career, it's probably AD. J-Val viable. I think Ingram ends up playing today. He practiced. He practiced last time, so I'm assuming he's back. So I'm not really on Jonas Valanciunas. I'm really starting to think Kemba Walker is the play. Sandwich between Maxey and Milton. Who will be high owned? Absolutely. I think Kemba Walker is a very, very sneaky option tonight. Thoughts on Adams? Yeah, so I mean, Adams should be used pretty heavily in this game to match the size of Karl Anthony Towns. His minutes have been cut back for multiple reasons: blowouts, foul trouble, second unit playing better. This game should be competitive. He should be used defensively against Karl Anthony Towns, so he should exceed 30 minutes. And at $4,500, that is entirely too cheap. He has been pretty damn good from a permanent perspective so far this year. So at $4,500, I mean, Steven Adams is one of the better value plays on the entire slate. Reed okay in cash. I would not play Paul Reed in cash. Bro, who should I play, Randall or AD? Definitely prefer Anthony Davis there. Avery Bradley and play at 3K. No, not really. Walker, Mitchell, Seth Curry, Milton. Which one would you play on FanDuel? That's tough. Probably Milton, but Walker's close behind. Is Wiggins viable? Yeah, so I mean, the Warriors have blown out their opponents 4 straight games, so the minutes have been coming back, but Andrew Wiggins really on pace to play like 32, 34 minutes a game. And this is a good matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. As long as this game is competitive, he should get the minutes to pay off that price tag for sure. LaMelo, Brunson, or Luka Noel? Luka Noel for sure. Favorite 4K play at small forward on FanDuel? Is there any 4K small forwards over here on FanDuel? I am not sure. Let's take a look, though. So we know Otto Porter is out, so I guess Iguodala is somewhat in play. It's going to be Duncan Robinson for me, and you're just going to have to hope that he starts hitting his threes, because that's the only way he's going to pay off his price tag. But everybody else here is pretty dicey. You could play PJ Dozier at $3,600. I'm expecting him to grab the start tonight, but he is so inept offensively, and it's like the worst matchup in the league against the Miami Heat. And I don't think his minutes are as secure as people may believe they are. Davion or Noel last spot. Yeah, so it's tricky. You can play Noel now because if Tyrese Halliburton is active, I'm not nearly on Davion. But I think there's a good chance, if you have the money, I'd probably play Davion Mitchell there. Because even if Halliburton plays, he still has a pretty secure role in that mid to high 20s minutes. And then you have the obvious upside if Halliburton is ruled out. 5,500 on FanDuel. Appreciate you. What position, man? Like Levine inning, not really on Levine's days. Avery Bradley in play. No, not really for me. I mean, if you really just need a bare minimum guy, like, he's going to play. But, dude, he just literally sits there in the corner and does absolutely nothing. It's brutal to watch. Yeah, I would probably just reconstruct if you're at that point. Harden the best play. I mean, he just played like 40 minutes, second leg of a back-to-back. I mean, it could be a pretty tough outing for him. Steven Adams should at least 8x on DK, right? You would think, but there's been so many weird scenarios with the Grizzlies so far this year that just cut back the minutes of some of their key players. But you would think. Thoughts on Holmes at his price tag? Yeah, I think he's priced appropriately. So I think there's a lot of mispriced guys tonight where you're getting a ton of value. Holmes not being one of those guys, but I think he's priced appropriately. I think he's priced where he should be, and you're just not getting that much value out of him. Favorite utility, 7,300 or under. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's between Capella and Holmes for me. I'd probably go with Holmes given the matchup against the Phoenix Suns with no DeAndre Ayton. Anthony Edwards thoughts? No, D'Angelo Russell is playing, so I'm not on the Timberwolves guys at all. Paul, Poole, Barton, Jackson Jr., Drummond, Mitchell, Davis, Noel, DK, GPP. I love it. Love it. No Kaminsky, but I like it. Paul and Heald or Davis and Cork. Let's go with the Davis and Cork side. I put AD in the lineup instead of Booker. I hope he plays. Well, he was upgraded to probable. I would fully expect him to play. McGee over Noel straight up in DK. I prefer Noel to McGee. Wiggins is 5,500 is what I'm saying. Good price. Yeah, pretty solid price for him. Ingram or Miles Bridges? Gonna be Miles Bridges for me. Really like that game environment. Thoughts on playing Danny Green? Yeah, so I think he will be thrown back into the fire, play about 30 minutes. You know, even with all these guys out, it really doesn't increase his usage all that much. But, you know, I think he'd do worse. I think that the sub 4K value is very, very sketchy tonight. He's one of the safer ones. Bane and Jaw or CB3 and Maxey? Let's go with CB3 and Maxey there. Prince or Dozier? Prince. I don't know who you're talking about with Prince. Hero or Barton? I like Barton. Is GP2 a legit play? I don't really think so. If people are chasing him, cool. FanDuel lineup: Westbrook, Mitchell, Luka, Wiggins, Gordon Hayward, PJ, AD, Frank, Drummond. Like it. Do you like this DK cash line? Westbrook, Barton, Bane, Kaminsky, Drummond, Milton, Davis, Noel. Yeah, I love that lineup. Love it. Luka, Shake, Barton, Frank, Drummond, Mitchell, AD, Noel, DK cash. Like it a lot. Favorite utility play: DK GPP under 8,900. Let's take a look. It's probably going to be Chris Paul here, if I can think correctly. Yeah, it's Chris Paul at $8,700 for me. Like Korkmaz now. I think Korkmaz is a fine play. And he's going to play 30-plus minutes again, so pretty decent matchup. I mean, the New York Knicks were very, very stout on defense last year. This year, not so much. You like Mikal Bridges tonight on FanDuel at 5K flat? Yeah, I think he's one of the better point per dollar small forward plays. If I wasn't playing Barnes and Will Barton, Bridges would be my next guy. Thoughts on Buddy if Halliburton is out? I absolutely love Buddy Hield tonight if Tyrese Halliburton is ruled out. I think Hield is a good play regardless, but there's a ton of upside in his minutes if Halliburton's out. And so with the more minutes, the more opportunities he has to shoot threes. And if he gets hot, he can really destroy that price tag. So I think Buddy Hield is very, very strong. Taurean Prince. Is Prince even in the rotation? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Dozier. He played 15 minutes last game. But also, that was without D'Angelo Russell, who's going to be back this game. Would you play Adams on DK Cash? Yeah, I think he's definitely fine for cash games. I mean, dude, the numbers on the Grizzlies guys moved so much. If I can find them. Yeah. Adam, I mean, I still like these over numbers for Bane and Adams, to be honest. Luka and Korkmaz or Westbrook and Milton. That is so tough, Jay. It depends if you're playing AD. If you're playing AD already, I prefer the Luka side. Actually, I'd probably just go with the Luka Korkmaz side, J-Flyer. Move to Luka, Barton, Bane, Frank, Drummond, Mitchell, Davis, Adams, and DKGBP. Thoughts? I love it, Chris. Love that lineup. And then if Halliburton gets ruled out, that lineup may be the nuts. Because if we knew right now that Halliburton was ruled out, Davion Mitchell would be like an A-tier play for me. Luka or Joker? Yeah, that's the tough question. I mean, Luka obviously gets like the nut matchup tonight. But it's probably Jokic for me. I mean, Jokic's probably the best raw projected player for me tonight. While it is a tough matchup, literally everything from the Nuggets is going to run through Nikola Jokic. Again, since the beginning of last year with no Michael Porter Jr., no Jamal Murray, and nearly a 500-minute sample size, he's averaging 1.8 fantasy points per minute. His usage is just going to be through the roof tonight. His assist opportunities are going to be through the roof tonight. Gonna see a lot of Nikola Jokic. If you guys find any value in these streams, enjoy chilling with us. Would really appreciate it. If you guys could drop a like. I don't know how many likes we have right now, but let's try to get over 100 at least. And I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. I'm here every single day. CB3 Hero or Harden and Seth. The CB3 Hero side. Sorry, I'll take the Harden Seth side there. Would you play Adams on DK Cash? Yep. Oh. Yeah, Shake Milton is still a good play. I mean, I'm still expecting him to play high 20s, low 30s minutes in this game. And they literally just have no guys that can create their shot outside of guys like Maxey, Drummond, Milton, and Korkmaz to a certain extent. The production should be very, very condensed for the Sixers. Thoughts on Monk? Not on Monk at all, especially with Avery Bradley being in the rotation and playing so many minutes. Thoughts on Maxey, Milton, Barton, Frank, Drummond, Chris Paul, AD, and Adams? I love it. Noel or Gibson, point per dollar. Still prefer Noel since he is grabbing the start. Luka or Curry? Luka for sure. FanDuel, Healed, Walker, Paul, Poole, Barton, DeRozan, AD, Kaminsky, Drummond. I'm down with that. Last time I'm putting this slide, please see this. Poole, Barton, Bane, Taj, Drummond, Luka, Frank, and AD. Yeah, I mean, I like all those guys. I mean, honestly, Taj probably the best minimum price, like stone minimum $3,000 play tonight. It's between him and Bones Highland. I think that Taj Gibson, even if he plays like 20 minutes tonight, could do pretty well because he's going to get a lot of run against guys like Paul Reed and Charles Bassey if Charles Bassey gets into the rotation. So Taj could have a pretty good time at minimum price. So I like that lineup a lot, Brandon. Thoughts on Fox? Yeah, I mean, one of these games he's going to blow this price tag out of the water. He's just been playing very, very poorly, shooting very poorly. The opportunities have actually been creeping down to match that. But if Halliburton were to be ruled out, he's kind of just going to be forced to handle the ball a bit more. And so if there's more opportunities, more chances that he starts to play better. So I do like him in a tournament aspect. Wouldn't touch him in cash, though. How are the 290 views and 87 likes? Brutal, man. Russell, Malik, Beasley, Gary Payton, Mikal Bridges, Crowder, Harrison, Frank, Jokic. Wow, that is a contrarian lineup. Not really on Gary Payton or Malik Beasley with D'Angelo Russell being back. But yeah, Luka or Curry. I like Luka, Danny, and AD or Russ and Reed. I will take AD and Danny there. Thoughts on Ja? Yeah, Ja's playing bigger minutes than ever now. So I don't mind playing Ja this year. Just I prefer LaMelo in that price range. Is KP good? Yeah, for his price, I think he's fine. Toppin is min price as well. Yeah, I don't know how many minutes he's going to end up playing, though. Noel or Danny Green on DK. Noel for sure. Kemba, CP3, Brunson, Poole, Healed, Bridges, Gibson, Blake Griffin, Drummond. Any improvements? Taylor, Australian site, by the way. Yeah, I wouldn't play Blake Griffin. I mean, there's got to be somebody better at that Blake Griffin spot. But I do like the rest of your lineup. Let's go, Brandon. Kemba, Barton, Bane, DeRozan, Drummond, Poole, Kaminsky, AD, DK. I like it. With all the value, Taj Gibson, dude, stop donating your money. Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, there is just so much value today that I don't think you need to be creeping below 4,000. There's just like so much value in that 4 and 5K range that it just doesn't seem very necessary to me. Kemba, Poole, Green, Frank, Drummond, Luka 80, Noel, single entry, DK, like it. Poole, Milton, Bane, Kaminsky, Drummond, Barton, Durant, CP3, DK, Cash. Yeah. You guys are pretty in line with what I've been suggesting, so I do like the majority of these lineups. Gibson, Bane, or Noel and Draymond Green. Oh, Danny Green, I'm assuming. Probably the Noel side there. Let's get it, Chris. All right, guys, it is lock time. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm here every single day. If you guys could drop a like, make sure to subscribe. That is the #1 way of supporting me. Appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to head out, though. I will see you guys in the Discord. If you guys want to join the Discord, it's completely free. Linked down below in the description. We have like almost 1,700 people in there right now, I think. And if you guys want to rock the new logo, hit me up in the Discord. I'll send it over to you. And, yeah, best of luck tonight. Appreciate you guys being here. See you guys next time.